either live by the gun or you die by the sword.
Welcome to the Good, the Bad, and the Weird podcast, MicroViews. I'm Nicho.
And I'm Chris.
And today, continuing our aliens, we are not looking with our eyes to the skies. Don't mean shit today. It's eyes to the ground with 2005's remake of War of the Worlds.
Of course. The one starring Tom Cruise.
Yep.
I
think this is our first Tom Cruise movie, too.
You know, that's not an accident, actually. I'm not a Tom Cruise fan. I know a lot of people are. I know people really like his work despite the craziness of his personal life, and I'm all for understanding that mind point. However, I have never thought him handsome, and I think 90% of the pull of Tom Cruise is that he's supposed to be a handsome man.
The best Tom Cruise role for me is Tropic Thunder.
I would agree. Yeah, I love Tropic Thunder.
It's amazing.
Though I won't lie, him being in the movie is not the reason I love Tropic Thunder.
No. It's his best role for me, though. So.
I agree. And it's not that I actively despise him like two other actors we know. I just don't normally care for him. So I was pleasantly surprised that I actually did like this movie.
Yeah, it's been a long time. I don't think I've seen this movie since it first came out in theaters or whenever like it was on FX or whatever channel it was on, because it was on all the time.
It sure was.
For a while.
It sure was. And I also came at this from a bit of a cynical point of view because I really like the original movies, and I really like the original radio broadcasting of War of the Worlds. And so I was a little skeptical on a updated version of the movie. And I was surprised that I did enjoy this one. Not my favorite, still not my favorite, but I did enjoy it.
And for those unfamiliar, War of the Worlds is your typical story, your famous classic H.G. Wells novel. Mm-hmm. Aliens come to Earth, die by virus. It's not spoiling anything at this point.
The book came out in 1898. Yeah. If you haven't gotten around to War of the Worlds at this point, that's on you.
Yeah, but the screenplay for this adaptation was written by Josh Friedman and David Cope. And it's directed by Steven Spielberg of Duel fame.
This is true. This was his third or fourth Alien movie too.
Yeah, he's actually done quite a bit of Alien movies, which I'd love to do his stuff at some point, but we decided to go with Eggs this time.
True. This is, I think, and granted, I have not kept up with Steven Spielberg's Alien films over the years, so there's a good chance that there's been more. But I do remember that when this one came out, it was kind of a big deal that this wasn't a cutesy alien film. This was more of a doomsday film.
Yeah, it's no Close Encounters of the Third Kind, where it's a little bit hopeful at the end. It's not E.T., where it's supposed to be family friendly. It is an actual, almost horror movie at times.
And that was something that I found in an interview with Spielberg on this movie, that he did mention that he wanted to make a family friendly horror film. And I do think he managed to do that, because while there is no blood and guts, and it's not by any means a psychological horror, it is a spooky movie. He doesn't hold back on the cinematic effects.
Scratch that. It's his fourth movie, technically, because AI, artificial intelligence, has aliens at the very end. So technically...
Yes, it does.
Fourth Alien movie.
But for Spielberg, it's still pretty good.
Yeah. But no, yeah, this one is different. Well, real quick, it's starring Tom Cruise as Ray Ferrier, Dakota Fanning as Rachel Ferrier, and Justin Chatwin as Rob E. Ferrier.
Of course.
But it is interesting because of these, it is more focused around the family, per se. So it takes elements of his other movies and twists them a little bit, where it's okay, it's a family unit, but they're all kind of not happy with each other outside of the siblings.
Yes, and I think part of the rewrite that I did like on this was, we upped it to modern times, 2005-ish times, but also the original story is told from kind of a bigger perspective looking in, and having this one be from the family's point of view, I did like the nice twist. I wouldn't say that it makes it an instant classic like a lot of critics who were, raving about this when it came out, but it was refreshing to see an alien film, especially since this is a Spielberg and I kind of had a taste for what I should be looking for. I was pleased that it kind of fell in line with other Spielberg styles of storytelling where we're more focused on one or two people and the horror or monster or whatever you're doing.
Well, I think part of what makes it so good is Ray is such an asshole from the get-go.
True.
And then on top of that, they set him up 100% as unreliable, detached, quick with the broken relationships, like not going well with his son and his daughter, to like the point where it doesn't end with just the invasion and like all of a sudden he's a good dad. They get to the house and he doesn't know her food allergies and stuff. Like, he's not a good parent in most regards. And even then, like at the end of the movie, he's only a good parent because he's fought to keep them alive, or worked hard to keep them alive. And that's the bare minimum of being a parent, is keeping your child alive.
That is the bar on the ground. But I do appreciate that this movie takes that stance from the beginning, and instead of turning him into the perfect parent by learning about the kids along the way and like bonding with them, instead of learning to be the best perfect parent in a very short, stressful time frame, he just learns that he can be less of a dick.
Yeah, he has to be that one, if ever so fleeting, rock that the children have to cling to. And even then, his son still wants to get away from him constantly. Like, even when shit's hitting the fan, the kid's running towards danger. He can't even, like, to the point where we think the son's dead at one point.
That is true. I do think, so in the same interview where he talks about how he wanted this to be a horror movie for the whole family, Spielberg also talks about how part of the reason why he agreed to do War of the Worlds when it was brought up to him was because the script talked about his own parents' divorce when he was a kid and how that affected him. We see that theme a lot in Spielberg films, upset parents and the troubles that kids have with that. But also, 9/11 spooked him pretty good, apparently. And so he really wanted to take this and, like, he never directly said, patriotize it. But
it's a little heavy-handed, like, because it's like when you watch older movies, like when I go through the Universal monster movies,
and how patriotic they are.
Yeah, and you get to that point where it's the Invisible Man becomes a secret agent. They have to bring the mummy stateside to make it convenient. But this one does it in not an obnoxious way.
No, but it is a present way.
The kids keep saying, "Was it the terrorists?" And that's like the line where it's like, okay. This is this era of cinema, so it's like, okay, I get what you're trying to do.
Well, and the kid he is trying to run away, but he is also actively attempting to join the military literally every time he sees the military, which is a hard thing to do when the entire original premise of War of the Worlds was a military book, essentially.
Yeah.
So, like, they run into the military a lot because that's kind of the whole point of the original story. Granted, I do like how they reworked it. I do think it was kind of nicely put in, and it's not super in your face, but we have now lived almost 20 years past this movie's coming out.
Yeah.
And the 9/11 super patriotic movie thing hasn't it's now blaringly obvious because we don't make movies like this anymore.
Well, and think about it too, is this is setting it up as ground zero. If we go back to like World War II, kids lying to get into the military to fight in the wars.
Oh no, like this is a thing that like happens every time we see a major war or devastation. Like, there is always going to be a set of movies that come out, and it's not just movies, songs, TV shows, everything in your world has been disrupted and it all changes. I mean, we see it even not just in American TV shows, but like movies and stuff that came out after World War II in England. We see a huge patriotism. A lot of characters that have no business doing anything with the government will suddenly become a spy or save their country from the Nazis. Like, this was a trend, and it's still a trend. It just has changed skins a little bit. And it's not bad. I do think Spielberg did it well, but it is in your face.
Yeah, just ever so slightly.
Ever so slightly. Though I do think if H.G. Wells was still alive, he probably would have liked it, because it's in line with him.
Well, and I think what he did too is, for me, it's very, he does what my biggest complaint of kaiju movies is, where kaiju movies, not mainly Japanese ones, the American kaiju movies that we made, the recent Godzillas, where everyone's at ground zero, but they're not like really tied to it. They're only fighting against it because they're at ground zero, and like it doesn't continue from there. Whereas in this one, they start off at one of the ground zeros, but it's more of a movie about family than it is about an alien invasion. It's that creature feature where the creatures help add tension to an issue that's already an issue, and help explore how to potentially fix it.
Oh, absolutely. And I think the other thing that this movie did really well, that I don't think it necessarily truly intended, was it created some really good alien imagery.
Mm-hmm.
Because Spielberg had already done several alien films. He didn't want this to look like his other alien movies. So he did completely rework how the aliens look compared to other War of the Worlds, either description from the book or from the other movies or TV show. So, like, this one we went with very alien, very squid, lots of long arms, and
weird. When you actually see the aliens, like, the ships are like that, but the aliens themselves are even not your classical grays, tall whites. They're a different kind of alien.
They were based off of a type of tree frog, I think. So, like, that was kind of the idea behind the legs and how they move a little bit. So I do appreciate that, like, there was a lot of thought put into aliens that are really kind of not in the movie a whole lot. It's really just a lot of explosions and, like, general war ambiance. So, but that imagery stuck around long enough and well enough that, like, people who haven't seen this movie since it came out still kind of remember what that looks like, which I think is a sign of a very good alien movie.
No, I agree. And on top of that, the way he escalates everything is it starts off like, okay, big picture, and then, like, they're safe for a little bit, but then it starts just constantly building up that, hey, you're not safe in the air, you're not safe on land, you're not safe eventually at sea. Like, it starts building to nowhere seems safe, and he's constantly running. His goal is to still get to Boston. And the thing is, like, the way, I know it's supposed to be like, okay, we're going to get our family back together.
Yeah.
I'm going to get us to Boston. It also feels like Boston is his way to ditch the kids of, like, I'll get you to Boston to your mom. That's where you really want to be. I'll peace out after that. And he does. Like, that's the thing, is he drops them off in Boston and
like, keeps walking. Yeah. Okay, the ending of this one is not satisfying to me.
No.
At least with, like, I feel like the big surprise at the end of War of the Worlds is that, like, oh, the aliens get taken out by the common cold. Like, it doesn't feel like a shock because this movie's made in 2005, and at that point, again, everyone knows how the movie ends.
Yeah, okay, so that's the thing, too, with Morgan Freeman narrating this.
Yeah, that was hilarious to me.
So at that end where he's like, and then God put these diseases upon Earth and killed the aliens, the God's tiniest creation. So in this idea, God planned for the aliens to come and attack us and then get killed by the disease.
We don't talk about that. We don't talk about that.
Well, that's the other thing, too. I'm always curious about, because in alien mythos and whatnot, you hear that anytime someone comes in contact with an alien, they come back with, like, some crazy space STD.
Sure.
But we never see the opposite of, like, the aliens bringing diseases. That'd be a really cool aftermath of, like, well, the aliens came post War of the Worlds. They brought some nasty stuff along with them, too, that's screwing people over.
I'm sure that's a thing somewhere. It's just Alien franchise isn't my favorite, like, genre, so I don't watch a shit ton of these movies.
Fair.
The thing that, like, is jarring is, yes, Morgan Freeman being the narrator is correct, because that man is the narrator of the entire world. He spoke penguins into existence. They weren't involved until he made them.
Yeah, he turns microphones into gold bars.
He does. So him being a narrator does feel right. However, it's a little strange because the role of the narrator is so important in the story of War of the Worlds, and yet we've rewritten the story really hard to update it and to make it a more focused in on this one asshole and his kids. Not necessarily a bad choice, but we kept the narrator part, which means the ending feels super abrupt, and instead of it feeling abrupt, like, oh, thank God the war is over, like how you were supposed to be refilling that end of World War I or World War II where it comes over the radio, this time, instead, it just feels like, well, bye, asshole, you could have stayed with Grandma's house and, like, maybe worked on your kids' relationship a little bit. No. Instead of being like, oh yeah, I forgot about the aliens, that they're now dead from space goop and our snot.
Not space goop, they're dead from Earth germs.
From Earth germs. Children's snot.
Yeah.
So, like, instead of feeling that over sense of relief that the original story, like, kind of gives you, it just kind of feels super abrupt at the end, which is disappointing because the pacing for this was really great up until then.
Yeah, no, exactly, because it's just like, okay, well, now we're in, we gotta drop off the kids and peace out, guys. Like,
if he had just stayed, then the ending would have at least, like, been expected and fine.
Yeah.
But him, like, wandering off into the streets was really strange to me.
It's like if at the end of Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, he just left.
Yes.
John Candy's character.
But the whole point of that movie was that, like, he learns to be a better person.
Exactly. He's just an asshole through and through, where he's, like, maybe a little bit more respected by his daughter. His son, I don't think his son
likes him still.
No, his son, like,
I mean, they give him a hug at the end, but it's just like, oh, you're not dead, great.
Yeah, exactly. It's just like, yeah, I got back home. Like, that's the other thing, too. His son made it home without his dad. His son didn't need his dad.
No, and the other thing that is, like, a little bit telling, and I guess it works because I get where Spielberg and also Tom Cruise, because in an interview with Tom Cruise about this movie, he talks about a lot about how the reason he and Spielberg work so well together is that Spielberg respects his choices and his ideas that he brings to films, which is something he's famous for doing. He's a very active and involved actor, especially a lead actor. And I'm not saying it's wrong, but it feels very Tom Cruise at the end of the movie for him to be like, and then my wife didn't greet me, the grandparents actively glared at me, my son pretty much was like, glad you're not dead, and then went back in the house and I walk into the distance alone because I'm a loner.
I've got to walk that entire way back to my bachelor pad that
is definitely bombed.
Well, yeah, destroyed.
It's gone.
Well, and like, I think it's funny the way they portray bachelors in some of these movies where...
I do too.
The only thing he had for them to eat was basically
barbecue
bread.
Sauce.
Yeah, exactly. Sauces and bread, like...
Which cracks me up, because, like, the man doesn't even have, like, microwave food? Really? Are you sure? Okay. But, like, I mean, I guess. I'm sure some people, that's their reality, and whatever, but it's just such a strange portrayal that this movie goes through, because we work so hard to rewrite this classical tale to be focused on improving yourself and how terrible tragedy can bring you closer and a better person. Well, and then at the end, like, we learned nothing?
Yeah, and I think that's the part of it, too, is more so the feelings around or up until the end, because looking back at this being just a little bit after 9/11, I mean, long enough, but still fresh, where it takes this idea and where it's very poignant of, well, what if war came to the U.S.?
It is very honed in on that.
And then on top of that, when it starts introducing, like, the horror elements of, like, the girl watching, and then you see one body floating down the river, then it's just, like, a log jam of bodies floating down. It's like, oh, God. And then, like, the clothes floating around them. Like, the clothes part is... that's okay, that's one thing I don't get with this one, is the death ray destroys everything but the clothes.
Yeah, okay,
It does lead to that cool shot of them running through the forest and, like, just clothes raining down on them.
Yes.
You know what it reminds me a little bit of? I just rewatched Schindler's List. It's that moment. Yeah. It's that moment where the Jews have been started to be killed and burned, and they're seeing the ashes fall. It's exactly that kind of imagery.
No, it's exactly that. And don't get me wrong, I like Spielberg's imagery. I think especially for trying to rework something that has already been so iconographic in American, like, media and classroom, like, literature. I do think he did a good job of making this a horror film, but it's not too horror-y, like, it's not too gory, it's not too upsetting, but still having those elements that harken back to other wartime events, even if it's not super close to what the original story was about, or even, like, changing a whole bunch of stuff. I do think he did a good job with the imagery. I think that maybe is my favorite part of this movie, because, again, not a fan of Tom Cruise, and, like, I like the other versions of War of the World better, but I do like the horror elements in this movie. I do think Steven Spielberg would be a very good horror movie maker if he ever chose to be one.
Well, I mean, he directed the first movie that ever terrified me, Jurassic Park.
That is a scary movie for a lot of people, so, like, he has the ability to know what a good scary movie is, and I do think he played it well in this movie. It's not too much, because, again, he wanted this to be available for anyone to watch. He didn't want to take away that classic sense from it. But is it too scary? I don't think so.
No, it doesn't go full into the horror. I mean, we say horror elements, but that's only because it is a truly horrific thing, seeing a massacre of bodies floating down the river, the implications of the floating clothes. But outside of that, like, it has its tense moments, but for some reason it still feels just a little bit too safe.
Everything does feel fairly tame. I think the only real, like, aggressively scary part that, like, felt like true danger is when they're holed up in the house with the crazy guy.
Well,
and even then, like, it didn't feel too far.
Yeah, there's a couple parts I will say that do feel tense, like when they're in the basement and then the bombs or the plane crashes, and then that basement scene with the crazy man and the aliens invading, or the aliens actually coming out of their ships. Also, when they're in the ship themselves. But for me, upon rewatching this, even though knowing where it goes, not the scariest, but the more intense part of the movie is when you think his son's dead. Yeah. Because that's like, oh, okay, so he didn't protect his son.
Failure, yeah.
I think that again, it just adds to that lack of care at the end of for the end of the movie, because it is just that, okay, well, now we have to make it happy, the son shows up, instead of just leaving the son dead.
Yeah, or even truly letting us have a happy ending and letting him stay at the house, because again, there's a war happening, and yes, the aliens are dead, but like, that doesn't mean the world's still not on fire. Like, why wouldn't you stay here? Like, the ending is by far the weakest part of this otherwise very good movie.
Yeah, no, exactly. And I also do love in Scary Movie when they parodied it.
Oh, yeah.
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 Yeah, they did a good job with it. And that's the thing, too. It's like, I don't hate this movie. I complain about little parts here and there because, like, it is cheesy. I mean, there's a cool car rotation shot. I mean, when the plane crashes and it's the reporters trying to get stuff and it's them catching up, it's like, okay, I get what you're doing here. It's a little bit of exposition to, like, get us caught up to, like, okay, it's not just where you guys are at, it's the entire world that's having this. But that's also another question, is they say that these pods have been here for centuries.
Yeah.
Did the aliens plan that there were going to be major cities exactly where they planted these pods?
See, okay, that's one of the rewrites that, like, don't get me wrong, from a visual standpoint, it does look cool.
Oh yeah, the falling of the church as the new eldritch gods come out.
It looks so cool. There is a lot of thought behind the original, and also, like, I feel like I know I'm not a big fan of, like, the direct ties to the 9/11 era and, like, how that represented itself in song and movies, but the original one makes a lot more sense for trying to have that connection where, like, they come down in saucers as opposed to, like, eggs in the ground.
But see, that's the other thing, too. I do like that he got away from the flying saucers, because that was such a overused sci-fi stereotype of the 50s, 60s, and 70s that honestly kind of killed the genre. Like, I mean, we see it in so much stuff, it's just like, okay, of course he's gonna do flying saucers.
Well, yeah, but in the exact same breath, you have to acknowledge that this is where the flying saucers came from. So, like...
depends on which rabbit hole you go down.
That's true. One. Many people have claimed many a things. But, don't be wrong, visually, I totally see why Spielberg chose to do the aliens like this. I see it. I get it. It was really cool looking. But at the same time, the logic just... The logic in the parts that were clearly rewritten is so weak compared to the rest of the story. And that's too bad, because it's so much of a big jump that this is one of those movies where, like, I watched it once, my husband was like, oh, I haven't seen that movie in a really long time. If ever, I want to watch it. Do you want to watch it again with me? And I had to go, not really.
Yeah, well, and that's the thing, is I'm glad I went and rewatched this.
Oh, yeah, me too.
Just because we've talked about alien movies for now 7 years.
That's true.
And we've talked about Spielberg too. I mean, we did E.T. last year. We haven't done Close Encounters of the Third Kind. I'd like to at some point.
Sure, and there's Jaws, you know. But, like, this is one of the newer ones. This is an all CGI one, which not my favorite, especially with Spielberg and how good he is with practical effects. But I do think that the CGI looks good still. It still holds up. It's still a very interesting movie.
Yeah, for 20-year-old CGI, this is still damn good, yeah.
It is still damn good. And also, the music's by John Williams, so I can't complain there. The sound effects are really good, unless you have a tiny shitty TV like I watched it on.
So then how do you know that they're good?
Because I've seen this movie multiple times. I've seen this movie in theaters. I've seen this movie on my parents' bigger screen in their basement with the nice sound and the surround sound when that was working. I've seen this now on a shitty TV where, yes, I can't hear the nuances that my husband is excited to watch it for, but I can still hear that it's good. The music is still very moving and very involved in the movie and the plot. It's one of those ones where, like, it is good, but it's a reworking of a classical one that we've had a lot of reworking done. Yeah. You know? And it makes it hard.
Yeah. So then, Chris, would you rent, buy, stream, or decline that we ever watched 2005's War of the Worlds, despite having an audio recording of us watching it?
Look, this movie's good. The DVD is not that good. There's not a ton of extra stuff. All of the extra interviews that I have referenced for this, I had to look up myself. There's a little bit of behind the scenes making because Tom Cruise was involved, and there's always behind the scenes with Tom Cruise. But it's not good behind the scenes because this was almost exclusively done on stages. There's a few shots in real life but it's just like the basic street corner, and then we CGI'd the hell out of it. Yeah. So is this worth buying a DVD? Not unless you can find a different copy than the one we have, because there wasn't a bunch of extra stuff. And that's too bad, because Spielberg is a very good interviewer and very good explaining his thoughts. Cruise also makes a very good interviewer. And I would have even been happy if Dakota had come back as an adult for a re-release of this and talked about her time working on the film. But that's just not the case. This movie never got a whole bunch of re-releases. It didn't get a whole bunch of attention. Partially because he did a secret release. This movie was on lockdown when it came out. There was no preview. There was a few previews. There was a big rush to get a very specific shot made for the Super Bowl, for that to be on the Super Bowl ads. Oh, okay. He had a bunch of this down to, no one had the script but him. It was under lock and key. He wanted this to be such a big secret for what the aliens looked like. He didn't even he wasn't even really wanting people to know who was going to be in it until the, big releases were, spoiled. Partially because before this one, several other movies had huge leaks where, the whole script was sent out. And so a lot of people were upset by that. He was really against that. But because of that, there wasn't hype around this movie. Not in the same way that normal Spielberg movies have.
Okay, I can see that.
So normally with a Spielberg release, especially a big one like this was meant to be, there's posters, there's merch, even for scary stuff. There's interviews and how it was made, and it gets re-released every 5 damn years, and then 3 more get made. You can't do that with War of the Worlds. And this wasn't one of the ones that he pushed a whole lot. He tried a new thing with the secret release. It didn't really work. It made money, don't get me wrong. This movie wasn't a flop by any stretch of the imagination. But it also wasn't a crown jewel in Tom Cruise's career. This isn't even a big landmark for Dakota. So,
Well, and to be fair, I didn't look for anything specific because we were doing this as a microview, so I wasn't planning on doing any major research.
And I did, though, because I like War of the Worlds, and I would be interested in owning, a dual DVD that has the old one or this one. I do rewatch the original ones because I'm a big fan of old movies.
I have the original on CED.
Ooh, that's fun. And, War of the Worlds does get re-released. It's a very popular story. It's a very popular novel. The audio version was groundbreaking for its time. Even the movie that came out much later was still groundbreaking. It was very good. This is just a retelling of it. It's good. Stream it. If you haven't seen it or haven't seen it recently, give it a watch. This isn't a big rewatcher, though.
Yeah, I think I'm in the same camp, even though I have the DVD. I'm going to say stream it. Yeah. Because it is worth a watch every once in a while. It's an interesting adaptation of the classic story.
It is.
I'd still find the family dynamic kind of funny towards the end.
It's just odd.
It's a little all over the place for that, but I get the heart of what they were going for.
I do too.
Again, there's beautiful cinematography for it. It's got some cool ideas going for it. Just when you start thinking about it from an invasion standpoint and just a movie in general, there's a bunch of little parts that don't really connect, or there's dumb questions that go into my mind of, well, if you're saying this happens, then this is the implication of God hates Martians. They were doomed to fucking die on Earth during this invasion. That is their fate.
Granted, 1898, that logic for that specific question you have would have been fine. Yeah. But no, that is unfortunately the biggest downfall of this, is War of the Worlds as a entire story is meant to be deeply thought about and discussed. That's why it's taught in history classes. It's why it's taught in literature classes. Mm-hmm. This one, while good, while entertaining, and a good attempt at updating it does not add anything to the discussion.
Yeah, no, exactly. Well, I mean, we added a lot to it, so...
I could add anything to anything, though, so let's not bring me into this.
Yeah, but that's it for our covering of extraterrestrials this year. We are going with a more aquatic animal that's a little bit out of this world, but of terra firma. And we are making love, not war, this year with the aquatic creature. Well, actually, no, there is war in that one.
There is war.
There is war.
There is war.
It's a cold one, but it's war.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
But anywho, this has been the Good, the Bad, and the Weird Microviews.
Thanks for watching.
Watching?
Listening?
Yes. Thank you for listening. Peace. Thank you for stopping by this here town of the good, the bad, and the weird. We appreciate your listenership, and if you want more of our takes in your life, feel free to check us out on social media at The Good, the Bad, and the Weird Podcast, or Tgtbtw for short. As well, if we missed a fact, your favorite part of a movie, or just have a suggestion and want to reach out and say howdy, feel free to email us at tgtbtwpodcast@gmail.com. And feel free to join our Discord at The Good, the Bad, and the Weird Podcast, where we talk about movies, just share random banter here and there. And always check out our podcasters, streamers, or any other content creator we shout out in our episodes. We really appreciate it. And as always, thank you for listening. Peace.